Hi guys and girls, Mark Crossfield here. Today we're going to be comparing PING LST tech, so the G410 low spin tech driver, and we're going to compare it up against the TITLEIST TSi3 driver, the new driver from TITLEIST. Lots of tech in both of these drivers. You could argue two pretty heavyweights of the driver market, slightly different price point, in fact quite a shocking different price point. I got strokes gained, we got numbers, we got a fairway challenge. Should be a lot of fun. In the comments down below, which one do you reckon will come out on top? Have you tried the TSi3 yet? And have you tried PING G410 LST? Oh, if you have, in the comments, let me know how did you get on. And while you're down there, try and hit that likes button for me if you want to see more compares of top drivers and other drivers. And also consider subscribing if you're not a subscriber already to this channel so you don't miss another great free golf video. Looks and feel to kick us off as I collect data. Like it's the two dark nights of golf, isn't it? Like they're both Batman stunning. TITLEIST very glossy, very shiny, all black, black face to slightly grey with the kind of whiter score lines. Very pear-shaped in TSi3, so classically TITLEIST and pretty. Does look good. The LST G410, you get the matte finish, and I've always loved the matte finish. Lots of stuff to look down on, obviously the PING. So where the TITLEIST is clean, the PING is far from clean with its ridges and bumps, turbulators and bits, all for its aerodynamic claims. We're going to talk about the tech in a second, but we have got slidable ideas on the back as well, which are visible when you pick it up, obviously not down when you address the ball. Both have changeable necks, PING's much more subtle. So I think impossible to say one looks better than the other. They're quite different while at the same time similar in their colorways. I think the PING looks fantastic. I love the shape in the way it sits, and I like the turbulators and bits, but I totally understand why some people don't. And the PING makes quite a nice, firm, loud sound. It's definitely, you know, it's got a good ting to it. You can see why so many players play PING on tour, like their number counts on LPGA, PGA, European Tour are always good without many people really realizing how many people are using this club. One of the things that you feel when you hit the PING is it does feel, and I say feel because it's hard to measure this, like one of the most stable clubs that I've ever hit. So what do I mean by stable? I mean when I'm hitting it in different parts of the face, it just feels like it doesn't want to move, it doesn't want to twist. Obviously I get gear effect and obviously it turns offline, so there is movement in there, but it feels so stable. And I think the other thing with the PING which gets a little bit unnoticed, which is kind of what it's designed to do, but the quality of the changeable neck I think doesn't get talked about enough because it is completely unnoticeable, which then in turn kind of works against them because it's an amazing piece of tech that gives you some dial-in kind of characteristics for fitters and what have you, which is great, but it just doesn't stand out or protrude. It just kind of is seamless into the head. It does feel just solid as the PING. It doesn't always feel like it's going to be like the longest ever, but you just feel like you're going to be a fairway machine with it. TSI, it's got more classicness about it. It's traditional to TITLEIST. I like the TSI lineup, which is new. I love the neck. It's much more bulbous, but it's clever what it does. And obviously we now got the new ATI face on TSI. And it is classic, pear, beautiful, quite a different shape really to the PING. And it's got a fraction duller sound to the PING. It has, I think, a sound that a lot of people will like a bit more. It's not as loud. And if you think about where these clubs are tested, indoor rooms like this, on ranges where the sound really bounces around, this sounds muted and lovely. The PING will bounce around and sound a bit loud for some people. I don't mind it personally, but definitely when I used to sell clubs, it was something people would hang on to. You know, some golfers don't want to be on the tee making this massive smack because they're a bit self-conscious of their performance. Out of the two clubs, the TSI, I definitely feel like I have to work it harder to not fade it. Again, I think often the three, the smaller of the two, because obviously you've got TSi2, often feels like a much more of a fade bias kind of club. Like that isn't coming back. It's me, but it's a fight I would have with this club. And again, that's how it relates to my deliveries. You might find it very different, but I do find this is more fade bias, where the ping is much more neutral in its flight. I feel like I can do both kind of ways with it. Now, obviously the ping in theory is the lowest spinning of the 3 heads you get in G410, where this one doesn't really claim to be massively lower spinning than 2. I kind of found it quite close to 2, but it'd be interesting to see how the numbers come out on the spin, because I do feel like this one is just going to be much closer LST, and I think it's one that people will compare when they're testing. And the TITLEIST does feel just great and classic. I'm going to hang on to this one. So as I try not to fade this one, why don't we go and have a look at the tech. There we go, look, I drew it. See, I can do it, I just feel I have to work harder. Let's go and look at the tech and see what actually is different and what's happening in these 2 drivers that might help you hit wombles. So what are the companies saying about these 2 drivers? Let's start with the face. The TSi3 has the ATI face, aerospace grade material, springy, elastic, firm, and will last. So CT's cross face in theory won't move as much maybe as other drivers, giving you more consistency over time with plenty of hits, is what TITLEIST say with their new. They're very excited about the ATI face. No other clubs using it. Ping have T9S Plus precision milled face. So it's a forged face that they've precision milled, making it thin, fast, firm, like it's like they're doing it like nobody else as well on their face. So both companies are claiming big things with the face. Both clubs are also boasting aerodynamic gains over prior models, TSI as well as the LST. LST obviously has the more visual look of aerodynamics with the turbulators and the lines all on the back, but both are boasting aerodynamic shapes. Both clubs also boast tour level fittings with the movable weights that they've got on the back of these 2 clubs. Ping do have a draw and a fade written on theirs, where TITLEIST don't. TITLEIST are talking about moving CGs, and to be fair, Ping are actually talking about moving CGs, aligning CGs with the movable weight, even though they do have draw and fade written on the back of their club. I think, you know, they've got to write something there possibly, and that's the simplest way of getting that message across. Now the LST tech, there's 3 models in PING G410. It is the furthest forward of all the CGs. It's low and back, but it's the furthest forward of all the CGs of the 3 heads that they produce, making it the lower spinning model. TSi3 doesn't particularly boast low spin or higher spin over TSi2. It's got just slightly different fitting options. PING G410 has the internal dragonfly. Again, they're trying to strengthen it with the internal design of the lid of this club. It makes the top of the club super thin, saving weight, which they can then use to try and increase MOI, which they say they do with this club. And the G410 LS Tech is a 450cc head, where you're looking more at a 460cc head, I think, in a TSi3. Again, CC heads nowadays, because of shaping, they're just not using that term so much. Both of these heads look a decent size down by the ball. The Ping, a little bit more stretched back, gives the appearance of actually a bigger head, where it might even be a smaller CC. Both have got the adjustable necks, so you can dial in for fittings, lies, lofts. Both obviously are subject to fittings, so aftermarket shafts if you want to pimp up your shafts, and they've got good stock shafts as options in these 2 clubs, as you'd imagine from these premium branded top-end drivers. So I'm back on the Ping hitting. Definitely plenty to shout about in both of those 2 clubs, isn't there? And I do feel with these 2 companies, you have got 2 of the biggest, I would say, kind of envelope shifters in golf. You know, they do make tech that lots of people then just latch on to. I literally can't get over it, and it'll be interesting if it comes out in the numbers. We've got strokes gained in today's video as well from the batch of shots. I can miss fairway with any club, but the Ping just feels so stable, so solid. Like, I do feel like if you got into a rhythm with this club, you will just hit fairway after fairway. Not that I couldn't with TSi3, I reckon I could, but as you hit enough shots, as I have done over the years, it's just one of the standout features with this. And I quite like the loud sound. I'm not afraid to shout a little bit, but I wouldn't mind at all. I feel like I'm going to hit fairway, so I don't mind, and it makes a little bit more of a crack. I do like the look. I always have done. I think it looks good. It feels super solid. Post comments down below as well. Let me know, what do you think of the new TSI? Obviously, you've got the new ATI face. Like, it feels like TITLEIST are trying to join the shouting game a little bit more in golf. Like I would always say in golf, you've got two massive shouters. So you've got TaylorMade and Callaway who are constantly having a go at each other for that #1 spot, shouting loud, groundbreaking, doobie-doobie-doo. And often in the background, you had Titleist and Ping actually making, you know, clubs that didn't shout but just did what they needed to do. They just performed. Not saying that the other two companies didn't, but there was a lot of shouting. So more shouting than maybe how far they ever pushed the envelope. And I feel like Titleist are almost feeling like they need to start playing that game to sell more drivers, possibly. And I don't know where I sit with that. Post comments down below, where do you think? Like, I just think their clubs are good enough. But as we all know, marketing is such a massive part of this industry. Maybe spreadsheets need shouting. It's like Ping, like kind of haven't changed through the years. They've just had the same voice, it seems. Just we engineer, go and test it. And that's something I would also equate to Titleist over the years. But this one does feel like the claims are just slightly big. And again, let me know. I would be really interested to know if you feel the same way. I love the feel, sound of both of these clubs. They've really got good, strong places in the market. That's a nice hit. And again, I'm holding on to it, and that's the beauty of hitting fit, getting fit, hitting enough shots, learn your patterns to know how you control the club, see if you can take it out on the course. I mean, we've got a face here that's not used by any other company, and the metal's like massively groundbreaking. So like if this one doesn't win, if this one doesn't beat the other for ball speeds or distance and control, this is what I want you to comment on. This is my point. Like, then what actually are we talking about? It's more that they need something to talk about for the new launch than it actually did anything different to the older model, possibly. Should we check the numbers out? Let's take a look at the numbers and the strokes gained. We'll start with left and right accuracy. You can see the Ping is verging on slightly left, where the TSi3 is averaging in the middle, but it's certainly a wider dispersion with TSi3. The Ping is impressively compact, close, great dispersion, only one leaking to the right. Like, I would be very confident knowing where to aim that club. TSi3 is going to need a bit of work. To counter those ones on the left, I'm going to aim right, and if I get one of those ones on the right, that ain't going to go so well for me. So I think a noticeable difference in those two. If we look at ball speeds, again, Ping maybe a little bit tighter, very similar on the average ball speeds, not getting anything extra out of those two. Obviously, they've both got face tech and all the rest of it. Ball speeds are good, unfortunately, not close to 160, the 170. That's my problem, not theirs. And then if we look at carry, again, they're averaging very much the same. Ping slightly tighter once again. Titleist having the longest one out at the top there, but also very much the shortest. On distance, it's going to be not much over those two, apart from possibly the Ping's consistency just bleeding through to give you a better average over a bigger data set. I think the efficiency is really interesting, and this is one of the things that as I test this more, certainly using the data the way I'm doing and the strokes gained, you're starting to really see the patterns in the Ping as just such an efficient club, where they don't boast to be the longest very often, if at all. Maybe they are the longest by just being the most efficient all the time, possibly. But it's a noticeable difference in the efficiency on those two. And then if we look at the backspin, TSi3 is a fraction lower in the backspin. They're both between 2000 and 2.5, which is obviously for low spin drivers. I think the low spin driver world has calmed down since the SLDR days, where they were trying to get it under 2000, where I think we all realised, me included, that that was maybe slightly too aggressive to maintain for golfers. So I would see the lower spin drivers now more in the bracket of around 2000 to 2.3, which they're both falling in between. Titleist, apart from one out there at the top, pretty tight in its spin. Again, nice consistency, and a fraction lower spinning than LST on this test. Before we finish on the strokes gained, why don't we do a good old-fashioned 18th at Pebble Beach, one shot with each club, longest and straightest, see which one comes out on top. Maybe 3 goes. In the comments down below, what one do you reckon will win on strokes gained? That is always a curveball, and at the moment Ping's kind of doing well. Whenever you strokes gained it, it's like you might be picking another one on 2 or 3 yards, but then when you strokes gained it on the 3D accuracy, it's like, oh, hang on a minute. But as expected with those numbers, like, they are just uber close. Right, Titleist to kick us off, shall we? I am going to try and belt these. Oh, I've cut it. And that's what I'm worried about with this club. I'm sure I can do the same with the Ping. It's a weak little high puffer to the right, just missed fairway, but well in play. 261 carry, only 3,000 spin. Delivery, not correct. You can't blame any club for that. 111 club, 157 ball on a miss hit stroke miss delivery. So for me with my numbers, huge potential in those. Right, stability king. Are you more stable? It needs to be on this hole. Yeah. Oh no, I've turned it. Oh no, Titleist one up, and that's a much better hit. Oh, that is not in play. It's a mile an hour ball speed more, club one less, carry 282. This is the beauty, if you think about it. On those two shots, on a range, I'm taking the second one every time. Such a better swing. It's about 7 to 12 yards left of the exact point I wanted to land it. It's just on this hole, you can't do that. Better numbers, out of play. Titleist is one up. All right, let's have a similar delivery with a Titleist then. Again, I'm going to really push these to their limits. This is a par 5 from this tee. It's 517, so I can get there in 2 in theory, but not from the water. Oh, have I turned that one too much as well? Stay right, stay right, stay right, stay right, stay... Yeah, that's... It's the same shot as the Ping though, isn't it? They're just so close. Oh, this is splash-tastic. 279 carry, 111 club. So match play now, I'm just going to donk this on the fairway and win. Anything in play is going to beat that shot dropping from the water. But I'm not going to do that. I'm going to try and give it a welly again. Liking that little draw. I'm just going to aim a fraction more right. That'll hit fairway. That's a line ball. Slightly out the bottom of the club, unfortunately, but that is straight. 1-all, it's a playoff. Slightly less club head speed, 109. 261 carry and a 3,000 revs. Hit out the bottom, but I like the stability of that, in effect, miss strike. Right, Ping's honour. All right, let's get the club head speed back up. And again, aiming slightly down the right for that little draw shape that I do want to hit. Ah, and I didn't draw it. That's such a shame. It's 111 club. I got the club head up. That is in play, but just the wrong shape. 267 carry, which is decent for that kind of shape for me, and it was 27 spin. Again, just not quite delivering the numbers. So if I got that spin down, that's going to shoot that carry right up, and the ball speed will jump too. 158 ball speed. I'm getting there. So 267 carry. What was the total? 281. To beat on the fairway, gives it for Titleist. Aiming up the right slightly, again, it makes me a little nervous with this club because I do have to work it to fade it. That's something I would practice. That's going to win because that's a nicer shape as long as it misses that tree. Don't hit the tree. Don't hit the tree. Oh, it went right through it. That's a winner. Chicken dinner. That's nearly 300. It's a 111 club. Ball speed was down because I hit it a bit on the top of the head. Spin was 2,100. Total distance 295 on the fairway. That's a win for the Titleist. TSi3 has done very well there. Hard to choose. Let's go and look at the strokes gained and see if that throws anything out. I mean, it would be so close on these two. It would really come down. Looks, feels, price. You've got to remember these are very different price brackets. This is under 400 quid. This is at the moment up near £500, so whatever it is in your country will be different. Yeah, it's a tough one. They are both just great drivers. And then the all-important strokes gained. So again, I've got all shots included and with the recovery shots taken out, 2 sets of numbers. Let me know in the comments what you think of that. I quite like having it dissected that way. Obviously, I think you can then see potential, while at the same time you can see realistic of what you did in that test, because you've always got to work the messy human into all these tests. You know, we are producing our messiness on these well-engineered clubs, so You know, I can hit 2 offline with the TITLEIST, none offline with the Ping on that group of shots, and all of a sudden the Ping's going to win. So you need to work out when you're doing your tests what you're discounting and what you're not. So that's why I'm delivering it this way. Again, let me know in the comments what you think of this, and if you want to see it continued this way, or would you just like all the shots, or just take all recoveries out, let me know. So TSi3, this is against the Tour Pro, is gaining 0.03. Tiny gains against a Tour Pro. That's good for me. Like, I'm not gaining on Tour Pro, so anything level with a Tour Pro average to gaining to me is a massive win. I am not a Tour Pro, so that's good. But look at the Ping. Like, look at the Ping. Every time, like, Ping must be loving that I've started or that we're looking more at strokes gained. I'm sure they don't care what I'm doing, but they care, hopefully, that they're getting decent reviews. And the fact that strokes gained is just constantly showing Ping for what they are, which is just such a good company in golf. 1.59 gains against the Tour Pro. That is massive for me. Like, that is huge. If I could hit the ball like that consistently with any kind of approach play or short game, now, I would be so excited. That's ridiculous. So now, if we take the recoveries away, so saying what I was saying earlier, the TITLEIST did have the odd spray in there. They get much, much closer. The TITLEIST is gaining 0.96, where the Ping is gaining the same, 1.59. So there was obviously no recoveries in the Ping batch, and there was in the TITLEIST batch. So I would say, for me personally, both of these companies make very good clubs. I've worked closely with both of these companies over the years, as closely as I'm allowed to. I would say there is hardly anything in that, but yet again, the Ping just squeezes that fraction envelope shift more out of it than what already an impressive TSi3 is doing on that test. I mean, they're just two really good drivers. And when it comes to low spin drivers now, I don't think they're as scary as they used to be. I think they are more open to more golfers. It was quite interesting when I tested TSi3 with a group of amateurs, with 2 to 3, and 2 being the one that their handicap bracket kind of would go for more. The 3 just constantly came out better, because I just think lower loft and slightly lower spinning drivers for lots of golfers, slightly lower spinning, can have really good benefits to their game, or add benefits to their game. Put your comments down below, which one would you go for and why? For me, I would have to go Ping LST there, but I would have no problem going TSi3. And again, like I've said on many tests, I think if we just repeat this test over and over again, you will see it flipping back and forth, because they are so close. You just have to hit one recovery with the Ping on a batch and then not with the TITLEIST, and that's going to flip over, isn't it? The biggest thing for me out of all these tests at the minute is just how consistently good the Ping comes out when you delve deeper than just looking at how far you hit your maximum drive. But not to take away from TITLEIST, because that's just a solid driver as well. Which one would you go for in the comments down below? Are you going to test any of these drivers? Let me know as well. There is quite a big price difference between these two clubs also, which I think is quite an interesting point. I would say at the moment, Ping for the money is unbeatable.